some fragrances play it safe. They follow the formula, tick the boxes, and end up smelling like everyone else on the tube on a Monday morning. And then there are fragrances that carry a legacy. Fragrances that don't need to shout because they've already earned their place in history. Acqua di Parma Colonia. Il Profumo Millesimato is one of those fragrances. And today I want to tell you exactly why this bottle deserves your attention, and honestly, whether it deserves your 144 pounds. Let's set the scene. Acqua di Parma was founded in 1916 in Parma, Italy. That's not a typo. 1916. Over a century of Italian craftsmanship. This is a house that predates most of the fragrance brands people call heritage. Cary Grant wore it. Audrey Hepburn wore it. The original Colonia, the one in the yellow and brown cylindrical bottle, became a shorthand for Italian elegance. Clean, citrus-forward, effortlessly sophisticated. But the Millesimato is something different. Millesimato, the word itself comes from the Italian wine world. It means vintage, a specific year, a specific harvest. The idea here is that Acqua di Parma took the soul of Colonia and refined it, elevated it, pushed it into Eau de Parfum territory. So you're not just buying a fragrance, you're buying an evolution of a legend. That context matters. It shapes how you experience the scent from the very first spray. Let's talk about the bottle because with Acqua di Parma, the bottle is part of the experience. This is one of those houses that understands that luxury is tactile. It's not just what you smell, it's what you hold in your hand. The Colonia Il Profumo Millesimato comes in that signature cylindrical format, the iconic apothecary-style glass, heavy in the hand, satisfying in a way that cheaper bottles simply are not. The glass has real substance to it. You can feel the weight. And weight in a bottle communicates quality in a way that nothing else quite does. The yellow and chocolate brown branding is classic Acqua di Parma, understated but unmistakable. It doesn't scream luxury, it whispers it. And honestly, that restraint is exactly what you'd expect from a house like this. No garish gold, no over-the-top embellishments, just clean Italian design that's been refined over decades. The spray mechanism is smooth, precise. No spluttering, no uneven distribution, just a fine, even mist that lands beautifully on the skin. When you place this on a dressing table, it looks right. It looks like it belongs there. Okay, this is the moment. First spray. What hits you immediately is brightness. A burst of luminous, sparkling citrus that is distinctly Italian in character. There's something almost Mediterranean about the opening. Sun-warmed, airy, like that first breath of fresh air stepping off a plane in the south of Italy in early summer. It's immediately joyful without being juvenile. The opening has real projection. This is an Eau de Parfum, remember, and it behaves like one. It announces itself. Not aggressively. This is never a battering ram fragrance, but confidently. The person next to you will notice it. The first 30 seconds are almost effervescent. There's a lift to it. A vivacity. What strikes me is how polished the opening is. There's no rough edges here. No that sharp synthetic citrus blast you sometimes get from cheaper takes on this genre. This is smooth, refined, and precise. It smells expensive before you even check the price tag. And that matters, because some fragrances at this price point make you do the mental gymnastics to convince yourself they're worth it. This one doesn't. It tells you immediately. As the top settles, we're talking maybe 15 to 20 minutes in, the fragrance starts to reveal more depth. The brightness doesn't disappear, it just softens, like sunlight moving from direct to diffused. And underneath that citrus veil, the heart of this fragrance begins to emerge. This is where the Millesimato really earns its name. The heart is where the vintage quality reveals itself. There's a floral elegance here, subtle, never powdery, never old-fashioned. It feels modern in interpretation while being classical in spirit. There's a softness that the original Colonia, being an Eau de Cologne, simply cannot sustain. The higher concentration allows the heart notes to breathe and develop in a way that's genuinely rewarding if you're the type of person who pays attention to fragrance evolution. What surprised me, and this is the bit I always look for, is how the heart manages to feel warm without feeling heavy. There's a gentle, almost luminous quality to the mid-stage of this fragrance that is quite rare. It doesn't collapse into the dry down too quickly. It lingers in this beautiful transitional space for a good hour, maybe longer on cooler skin. And in that space, it's truly lovely. This is the kind of fragrance you find yourself bringing your wrist to your nose and just appreciating. 3 hours in, 4 hours. This is where a fragrance either reveals genuine quality or shows its limitations. And the Millesimato? It holds up beautifully. The dry down is warm, gently woody, with a soft muskiness that sits close to the skin. It's intimate at this stage. Not a room filler, but a skin scent that someone close to you will find impossibly appealing. There's a creaminess to the base that feels almost like a second skin. It becomes part of you rather than sitting on top of you, which is the hallmark of genuinely well-blended fragrance. What I find remarkable about the dry down is that it retains a thread of that original brightness from the opening. Most fragrances lose their character entirely in the base. The Millesimato doesn't. There's a through line, a continuity, that speaks to the quality of the composition. The house clearly didn't just slap a generic musky base onto a pretty opening. The whole thing was designed to evolve coherently. And it does. If the opening is a conversation starter, the dry down is the conversation itself. Considered, warm, genuinely interesting. The house states 8 to 12 hours longevity on skin, and in my experience, on my skin, which tends to eat through lighter fragrances, I'm getting comfortably 8 hours. On clothing, you're pushing well beyond that. I've had this on a shirt collar the following morning and still detected it clearly. For an Eau de Parfum in this genre, which is inherently rooted in fresh and citrus territory, that longevity is impressive. Citrus fragrances are notorious for disappearing within the hour. The fact that this sustains for 8+ hours tells you everything about the quality of the raw materials and the concentration. This is not a fragrance that disappears as soon as you step outside. Sillage, the trail it leaves, is moderate, not a powerhouse. You're not going to clear a room, which for some of you is actually a selling point. This is elegant, appropriate sillage, the kind that makes someone turn and quietly ask what you're wearing, not the kind that announces your arrival before you've opened the door. In professional settings, in fine dining, in close company, this is exactly the right level. Sophisticated restraint. Let me be specific because I think this fragrance suits a particular type of person. Seasonally, this is spring and summer first and foremost. Early autumn at a push. The freshness, the brightness, the overall lightness of character makes it genuinely joyful in warmer months. In winter, it would feel a little outgunned by heavier oriental fragrances. But if you're a committed year-round fresh fragrance wearer, you'll find a way to love it in any season. Occasion-wise, this is versatile but upwardly mobile. Office wear, absolutely. Smart casual, absolutely. A dinner, a wedding, a garden party, the city, tati. This is exactly right for all of those. It's not a clubbing fragrance. It's not a date night in the dark fragrance. It's a fragrance for someone who wants to feel elegant without effort. Age-wise, and I know some people push back on this skews mature in the best possible sense. It's not that younger people can't wear it, but to appreciate it fully, to understand what it's doing and why it's doing it, You probably need to have outgrown the need to impress. This is a fragrance for someone who knows who they are. It's genuinely unisex. The balance of notes works beautifully on all skin types and all genders. Women who lean towards clean, sophisticated scents over sweet ones will love this. 144 pounds for 100 milliliters. That works out at 1 pound, 44 per milliliter. In the context of the broader niche fragrance market, that's actually very fair. When you consider houses like Creed or Xerjoff, where you're regularly paying 2 pounds plus per milliliter for comparable prestige, Acqua di Parma represents genuine value in the luxury tier. Is it cheap? No. But luxury was never meant to be cheap. The question is always whether you feel it in the quality, in the longevity, in the experience. And with the Millesimato, the answer is yes on all 3 counts. You can find this fragrance over at P11, that's p11.com, and the link is in the description below. It's the most straightforward way to get your hands on this one, and their pricing is competitive for a bottle of this quality. If you're looking for a cheaper alternative in the same family, there are plenty of fresh citrus Eau de Parfum sitting in the 60 to 80 pound range that do a decent job. But they don't do this job. They don't carry a century of Italian heritage. They don't have this level of compositional depth. Sometimes the extra spend is justified. Here, I believe it is. My score, 8.5 out of 10. It loses half a point purely because the sillage, while intentional and appropriate, might frustrate those who want more projection from their Eau de Parfum spend. It loses another point because it's not a fragrance that will challenge you or surprise you in unexpected ways. What it will do is make you feel effortlessly, unapologetically refined every single time you wear it. And honestly, sometimes that is exactly what you need. Acqua di Parma Colonia. Il Profumo Millesimato is not trying to be a trend. It's not trying to be the most talked about fragrance on fragrance forums or the most copied scent in a decade. What it is trying to be is a timeless, beautifully executed expression of Italian elegance. And it succeeds, fully and without reservation. If you are the kind of person who values craftsmanship over novelty, refinement over shock value, and longevity of character over fleeting trend appeal, this belongs in your collection. Full stop. If you already own this, I genuinely want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments. How do you wear it? What season? What occasion? How does it perform on your skin compared to mine? And if you're on the fence about this one, ask your questions below. I read every single comment, and I'll get back to you. The link to purchase is down in the description. Head to p11.com and take a look. They've got the full range, and the pricing is fair. Thank you for spending your time with me today. If this kind of in-depth fragrance conversation is what you're here for, hit subscribe and come back for the next one. There are some genuinely exciting reviews coming up. Until then, smell incredible.